Hi readers, Mrs. Wingers here, and I'm ready to read you this book. It's a Fancy Nancy book, and the subtitle is Every Day is Earth Day. Now, some of you already know Fancy Nancy. She is a very popular book character, and she has lots of books. There are so many Fancy Nancy books, many that we have in our library as well. But some of you don't know who Fancy Nancy is. And I just want to sort of acknowledge this point that every time we read a book, we're bringing our past knowledge. So we're all having different experiences as we start this book. Some of us already know Fancy Nancy, how she behaves, the sort of things that she likes and doesn't like. And then some of us are approaching this book without knowing anything about this character. Isn't that interesting? That happens with every book we read. We all have different experiences. Okay, let's begin. Fancy Nancy, Every Day is Earth Day. Okay. We can see some interesting things here on the title page. I do not like the color green very much. You can tell by my crayons. The green one looks almost new. But I adore being green. Adore is fancy for really, really loving something. Being green means taking care of our planet. Miss Glass asks, "Who can tell us about Earth Day?" I wave my hand and I say, "It's like a holiday for our planet." "That's right," says Miss Glass. "But I like to think that every day is Earth Day." Our class discusses rules for being green. Discuss means to talk, only it's fancier and more serious. Then we write the rules down. At home, I am shocked. I see that my family needs to be much greener. My dad is about to drive to the supermarket. "Dad," I say, "the green rule is less than a mile, bike in style." I wonder what makes that a green rule. Sometimes when we read, questions pop up in our mind. And I'm thinking, less than a mile. Oh, if something is close by, you should ride a bike instead of driving. Then you don't use gas or add any pollution from your car. That's cool. At the checkout line, the guy asks my dad if we want paper or plastic bags. I say to my dad, "Please take note. Always bring a tote." Tote is a fancy word for shopping bag. Another green rule. Ooh, I like how they rhyme. Later that night, it gets cold. My mom wants to turn up the heat. "No, Mom," I say. "It's better to wear a sweater." In the morning, I stand outside my bathroom. Very soon I shout, "Dad, don't waste water. Get clean, but stay green." Wow, Fancy Nancy is really teaching her family some rules that will help the environment or stay green. At school, we each make a poster. Robert says, "We're like superheroes. We are protecting planet Earth." That night, I see my mom's computer is on. Right away, I turn it off. My mom comes into the room. She sees the blank screen. "Why did you do that?" she asks. I tell her she is wasting energy. "I was writing something for work," my mom says. "I just went to get my glasses. Now I lost everything I wrote. I have to start all over." She's very irritated. That's a fancy word for mad. But how was I to know? I'm just protecting the planet. I tell my sister not to run the water while she brushes her teeth. I remind my parents to turn off the lights in empty rooms. Before bed, I go to my sister's room. I start to turn off her lamp. "Oh no," my mom says. "Your sister is afraid of the dark. She likes the light on." Soon my sister is asleep. Now she does not need the light on. I tiptoe to her room and turn off her light. In the middle of the night, I wake up. I hear my sister is crying. What is wrong? "Your sister woke up and got scared," Dad says. "She was alone in the dark. Did you turn off her lamp?" "Yes," I say. "I'm so sorry. I didn't think she would wake up." I start crying too. I'm noticing here that Fancy Nancy is doing a lot of positive and kind things to help her family be green, but some things, maybe it's too much, and there's been some consequences of that. The next morning, my parents say, "It is important to be green, and we will try harder. But you must not be so bossy, and you must be flexible." That's the opposite of stubborn. At school, I perk up. Miss Glass adores my poster. My green crayon does not look new anymore. Actually, I want to zoom in on this poster. Wow, that is very cool. Keep Earth beautiful. Got a bird, sun, rainbow, trees, grass. That's a very nice poster. My family is greener now. Tonight at dinner, we use candles, not light bulbs. We use cloth napkins, not paper ones. But guess what? Being green can also be very fancy. The end. And then here we see the fancy words, because in Fancy Nancy, she loves to use fancy words. So there was the word adore, which means to really, really love something or someone. Discuss, that means to talk seriously. Flexible, that can mean the opposite of stubborn. You know, stubborn like this. No, I'm not going to do it. But flexible means I'll give it a try. Irritated is a fancy word for mad. And tote is a fancy word for shopping bag. And here's what Nancy learned. Less than a mile, bike in style. Please take note, always bring a tote. In cold weather, keep the temperature low. It's better to wear a sweater. Don't waste water, get clean, but stay green. Wow, I love the way Fancy Nancy showed that she can try her best to teach her family these things, and she made a few mistakes, right? She turned off her mom's computer without asking. She turned off her little sister's light, and her little sister got scared, but she didn't give up. She didn't say, okay, well then, I'm never gonna be green again. She learned from her mistake, and she felt sad for a minute because it doesn't feel good to make mistakes sometimes. But then she kept going, and she made that beautiful poster, right? She didn't give up. She persevered. All right, that is the end of the book and the end of the read aloud. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.